Well, good evening, everyone. The front of the GTV6 is looking pretty scarce for things lately. Started working on it again. We've taken off so far the front grille and all of the headlights and headlight assemblies, as well as all the little bits and pieces that go with it. The old relays that I had there. These are actually the new relays, which are going to be going in. Looking into the front of the car, you can see that there's no wiring harness or anything left. I'll explain that in a minute. I pulled off all the brackets and everything, so there's nothing basically in terms of electronics on the front of the car at all. Moving into the engine bay, we can see, holy crap, there's a lot of shit taken apart. We have obviously all the wiring harnesses off of the front of the car, the ones that go up and up front and into over here. As you can see, that harness goes into the main fuse box of the car. I've got all this disconnected, dingly dangly here. So you're asking, what the hell am I doing? Oh yes, I've got a whole bunch of the old wiring as well as the ignition system taken out just temporarily. And you can see, moving onto this side of the car, there's nothing here. I've got the washer fluid tank out. I've got all of the electronics and bits that go into the front here. You got the coil ballast, the coil still left there, the ignition unit mounted there, and then this large wiring harness from the inside the car would have normally come down here, and then there was just a jumble of crap all over the place in here, then some other feeders that went to senders and fans and stuff. So I've got that all disconnected, as well as the high current leads from the alternator. And then we have a big pile of electrical tape, which means, oh yes, I have now filleted this GTV6 wiring harness completely. So you're asking, what the hell is going on with this GTV6 wiring harness? Why am I doing this? Destroying a perfectly good wiring harness. And that is correct. It actually was not too bad. I don't know why people complain about the electrical in these cars, because it was actually built quite well. I actually was using the mirror as a little bit of a holder. They used good quality wire. They didn't, do anything wrong in terms of wiring it at all. The gauges seemed adequate on everything. Let's wrap this back around here. There we go. That can hold that up for me. Decent quality connectors and everything. Put that inside the car. Hold that. And we've got this front bit all taken apart. And then this cluster of shit is kind of the ball of stuff that lives underneath the coil. Obviously, this looks way worse than it normally would, because I'm obviously selectively taking out wires. As you can see, there's a headlight connector right there. Anyway, so this is part of sort of my headlight wiring and engine bay cleanup in terms of the wiring. At the same time, because I know that this car is not going to be driven until spring, I've decided that I'm going to be converting the ignition system from the reluctor style Bosch system that was on the older GTV6s, and I'm going to be moving it to probably, I have a Milano ignition controller, as well as bits and pieces from Milanos and GTV6s. So I should be able to convert this to digital ignition, which should be nice. In terms of power output, probably nothing, but just overall a better system with electronic advance instead of the weighted advance in that old school distributor. So because I figured I'm going to be pulling this section of the wiring off to redo the headlights, I figured now would be a good time to at least remove the ignition, that old ignition system from the car. So you can see this reluctor lead that goes up to the distributor for the old system has been pulled out, because it normally would have been up the front of the car. It would have come up all the way to the front of the car, up to the distributor. So that's been removed in preparation. So basically, if I want to drive the car again, I can quickly just run that across the engine bay and start the car. But for all intents and purposes, I'm just trying to remove it. And then, so the ignition system obviously goes to this connector here. So I'm going to slowly but surely selectively remove the wiring from the factory harness, because obviously a lot of these wires I will need again when I put the new ignition system in. So same as the headlights, I've removed all of the factory headlight wiring from as much of the harnesses that I can and pulled it all back to here. So these are all the headlight leads that go up to the very front of the car. I've now pulled them back through the harness to where the battery alternator junction is, because that's where the relays for the headlights are going to live. So that ends up being right in here. So I've pulled all of the headlight wiring all the way back through the harness, and I'm broken it out here. So what I plan to do here is now take these and use them as signal wires. Obviously you don't need all of them, but I might as well pull them all, right? So I'm going to use these as signal wires for the relay set for the headlight. Then I'm going to feed heavier gauge, probably 14 gauge wiring back into the harness to replace the wiring to replace this wiring. I think this wiring is probably 16 gauge. So to be honest, it's probably adequate, but it had been snipped and it had started to corrode and stuff. So I figured I can use this as a signaling wire for the relays, and then just run my own power and ground for the headlights in this harness. So that's the reason I've taken this all apart. I'm going to be taping this all back together with the new headlight wiring and the new ignition system, and then it should look like nothing happened. So yeah, sort of what's going on the GV6 these days. We will update you when I figure out an actual plan other than just taking shit apart at this point. So bye for now.